All right, everybody, buckle up, because today we are diving into something near and dear to all of our hearts. Well, stomachs, really. We're talking about Publix.
The grocery store of the South.
Exactly. And not just any aspect of Publix. We're tackling those legendary deli counter lines. You know, the ones
Oh, I know them.
where you pop in for a quick sub and end up stuck in a time warp for 20 minutes.
The mystery of the 20-minute pub sub.
Precisely. And look, we've all been there, right? That 3 p.m. craving hits you, think, I'll be in and out, but then bam, you're trapped behind a wall of indecisive shoppers and overflowing carts.
It's a tale as old as time.
It really is. So to get to the bottom of this, we've got intel from both sides of the deli counter. We've got the customer complaints loud and clear, and we've gone behind the scenes to get the employee perspective. So first things first, is 20 minutes really that bad?
Well, it depends on who you ask.
True.
Some folks might say that's pretty standard for a busy deli counter. But here's the thing. Publix isn't just any grocery store. They've built this whole reputation on customer service, on being a cut above.
Where shopping is a pleasure.
Exactly. So when those expectations aren't met, that's when the frustration really kicks in.
Okay, so the stakes are high, but is it really fair to expect a sub in under 20 minutes when they're making everything fresh?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the
Yeah.
answer is it's complicated.
Oh, I love when it's complicated.
Well, one thing to consider is Publix's commitment to fresh ingredients. Several former employees mentioned their just-in-time food prep approach.
Just in time. What's that mean exactly?
Basically, it means they try to minimize waste by only prepping what they need for the immediate rush.
So if I order a turkey sub and they're out of sliced turkey.
You're going to be waiting a while.
Makes sense.
And when you factor in the other demands on the deli team online, orders fried chicken salads, sliced meats, and cheeses.
It's a lot to juggle.
It is. And then you add in potential staffing limitations, which are a whole other can of worms.
So it's not just impatient customers, it's a perfect storm of factors.
Precisely.
But here's what I don't understand. If the wait times are so bad,
Yeah.
why are people still flocking to the Publix deli?
Because those pub subs are that good.
They are pretty good.
And that brings us to the other elephant in the room, the Publix Premium.
Ah, yes. Are those subs, those groceries worth the price tag? Our sources seem to have some thoughts on this. Thoughts is putting it mildly.
Yeah, some of these complaints are pretty passionate.
One source even said they felt robbed after seeing the prices. That's a direct quote. And to make matters worse, then they have to bag their own groceries.
Ouch. Yeah, that's not exactly where shopping is a pleasure, is it?
Not quite.
Yeah.
So it seems like we've stumbled onto another deli counter dilemma, but this time it's about price, not time.
Right, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good that sub is if it breaks the bank.
Exactly. So are we being ripped off at Publix? Is the Publix Premium a real thing?
Well, it's definitely not a myth. Prices are consistently higher at Publix compared to other grocery stores.
We've all seen it.
But the question is that price difference justified?
Okay, so let's break it down. We can't talk about grocery prices without acknowledging the inflation situation.
True. Everything's more expensive these days.
But even with inflation factored in, there's still this perception that Publix is pricier than its competitors.
And perception is reality for a lot of shoppers.
That's true. So what are they paying premium for? Is it quality, service, convenience?
It's supposed to be all of the above. That's the Publix brand promise.
Right, but is that promise holding up? Let's look at some specifics. I know we pulled some receipts for this deep dive.
Oh, we did. And there are some interesting data points. For example, one source pointed out the price difference in eggs, $3 a dozen at Publix versus $1.89 for 18 at Target.
Okay, that's a pretty stark contrast.
It is, and it's not just the staples either. Remember those Disney ice cream pops we talked about?
Oh yeah, the ones that were like $10 a box.
Exactly. Those little indulgences can really add up. And then you've got the sneaky changes like the decline of the buy one, get one free deals.
You mean the buy two, get one free situation?
Exactly. It's still a deal technically, but it definitely feels less generous.
Like you're being tricked into spending more.
It's all psychological. And when you combine that with those individual price hikes on everyday items,
It creates this overall sense of, hey, wait a minute, am I being taken for a ride here?
and that's the danger for Publix, because that sense of distrust can be really hard to shake once it takes hold.
Especially for a company that's built its reputation on trust and customer loyalty.
Exactly. So the question is, can Publix justify those higher prices, or are they risking their relationship with their customers?
That is the million-dollar question. And to find the answer, we need to dig a little deeper into the Publix business model. So how does Publix fix this? How do they win back those frustrated shoppers? Because let's be real, nobody wants to lose their pub sub privileges.
I hear you. I definitely don't. And the good news is it's not an impossible situation.
Okay, so there's hope.
Oh, absolutely. Remember, Publix didn't get here by accident. They spent decades building up that reputation.
True. They've got a loyal following for a reason.
Exactly. So the key now is to tap back into what made them successful in the first place.
Okay, so what does that look like? Where do they start?
Well, let's tackle the deli counter first.
Ground zero for a lot of these complaints.
Exactly. And I think one of the biggest opportunities here is transparency. Imagine if customers had a better understanding of what goes on behind those counters.
You mean like why the wait is sometimes so long, even when it doesn't look that busy?
Precisely. Maybe they could install digital displays that show estimated wait times. Or even just a simple sign explaining the just-in-time food prep process.
So we know what we're getting ourselves into.
Right, because sometimes just knowing the why can make all the difference.
That makes sense. It's the whole mystery surcharge phenomenon. We hate feeling like we're in the dark.
Exactly. And then on the operational side, they could consider some staffing adjustments during peak hours. Even just one extra person dedicated to the substation could make a huge difference.
Okay, so transparency and staffing seem like crucial steps for the deli. But what about the elephant in the room? The price perception issue.
That's a tougher nut to crack. Because you can't just magically lower prices overnight.
Especially in this economy.
Right. But what they can do is double down on what sets them apart. What are they offering that you can't get at a discount chain?
Like their customer service.
Exactly. They need to highlight that human element, that feeling of, my butcher knows my name, even if you're just there for a pound of ground beef.
Okay, but how do you actually do that?
Training and education are key. Publix prides itself on having knowledgeable staff who can offer personalized recommendations. They need to showcase that expertise, make it a core part of their brand identity.
So it's not just about the products, it's about the experience, the human connection.
Precisely. And in terms of pricing, transparency is still crucial. Maybe they could highlight local sourcing or the quality of their store brand items, help customers understand why they might choose to spend a little extra at Publix.
It's about giving them a reason to believe in the premium.
Because ultimately that's what it comes down to, belief. Customers need to trust that Publix is still offering something special, that where shopping is a pleasure isn't just an empty slogan.
And that those delicious chicken tender subs are worth the wait and the price tag. Well said. This has been such an eye-opening deep dive. So much to think about the next time I'm browsing the aisles at Publix.
Me too. And remember, this isn't just about one grocery store. It's about the evolving relationship between businesses and consumers.
It's about trust, transparency, and the value of a good sub.
All the important things.
All the important things. All right, listeners, that's a wrap on another episode of The Deep Dive. But the conversation doesn't end here. We want to hear from you. Have you noticed these trends at your local Publix? What's your take on the deli counter dilemma, the price hikes, the overall vibe? Head over to our social media pages and let us know your thoughts. Use the hashtag #DeepDivePublix so we can follow along. And until next time, happy shopping, everybody.
Amazing, another SlopTube minute. I love it. Did you love it? If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Didn't like it? Comment down below.